was more than 130,000 people. Some military personnel, others civilians, many contractors, many white-collar professions, folks involved in physics and other branches of the sciences, right down to blue-collar factory workers. Think about how many facilities there were spread across Nevada, New Mexico, Arizona, and other parts of the country that were keyed and designed, set up, built, established to foster the tremendous amount of manpower, more than 130,000 people strong, that it required in order to conduct the Manhattan Project and its research and experimentation. And out of all of those people, only a tiny, tiny handful, it's believed to be fewer than 20, understood. They were at the top of the pyramid, folks. They were at the top of the ladder of classified access and or compartmentalization. It was believed that fewer than 20 actually knew what all of that work was about. And everyone else who was downstream in the pyramid, they knew that they were being paid for and having this important work being done, but they didn't know what they were actually building, what their work was contributing to. And in fact, the man who everyone knew would become President of the United States in short order, Harry Truman, he was left completely in the dark until after he had taken the oath of office. Folks, that is the power of compartmentalization, and it makes me sick. As a tax-paying American citizen, the dollars that we pay and fund these programs, that we pay for this research, these experts, and these toys, and they keep so much of it secret. And this is where we turn our attention now back to our friends, if you can call them that, at NASA. Now, please, I have to make the distinction here. NASA is no different than the pyramid of the Manhattan Project. 99% of the employees and contractors of NASA also are kept unaware of what is really happening at that uppermost echelon. And so, folks, those of you from NASA, I apologize. I don't mean to imply that you are of ill design, that you are of ill intention to the American public. I know that you personally are not. But I also know who sits atop the pyramid, and I speak to you now. You sicken me. And, folks, we're going to talk about some of the reasons why. First, I want to turn your attention to nasa.gov, www.nasa.gov, and a media advisory that was issued on May 25th, 2011. The title of this media advisory, NASA to Announce New Planetary Science Mission. And in the first paragraph from this media advisory, Dateline Washington, NASA will host a media teleconference at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on Wednesday, May 25th, to discuss the selection of a future science mission that will usher in a, and I quote and add emphasis, a new era in planetary exploration. A new era in planetary exploration. And in fact, if you continue to search nasa.gov, you'll find the body of the main article itself that was released on the same day, May 25th, 2011. Title of the article, NASA to Launch New Science Mission to Asteroid in 2016. In the first paragraph, I skip forward in the interest of time. The mission, called Origins Spectral Interpretation Resource Identification Security Regolith Explorer, or they made the acronym of this, OSIRIS-REx. I repeat, OSIRIS-REx. Those of you unfamiliar with the name Osiris, I hope that you'll do your research and realize the place that he holds in ancient Egyptian history, not as a pharaoh, as NASA and their lies would have you believe was the purpose or the connecting point in this organization. Osiris is regarded as a god. And those of you who are already familiar with Latin, you know that the word rex means king. They're calling this mission Osiris the King. Now, folks, let's stop just at that moment, just to this point, to pause briefly. If you are not aware of the work of Richard Hoagland and Mike Barra in a book that they published a few years back called Dark Mission, I would encourage you strongly to turn your attention to that, or to go to the website of Mr. Richard Hoagland, which is called enterprisemission.com, and do your homework, because they make an extremely thorough exposition of the tremendous, in fact, the horrific extent of occultism and esotericism that is brought to all of the missions that have been conducted by NASA. In particular, they do a tremendous job of documenting the Apollo missions and how each launch and how each landing at the moon were tied to specific astronomical configurations in the sky, many of them involving and centered around the constellation of Orion. And if you have done some homework, you know the connection between Orion and Osiris. and NASA names this mission Osiris the King. Now, folks, those of you fellow taxpayers here in America, if they had chosen to name this mission Jesus the Savior or Christ the King, can you imagine the outcry? Can you imagine how quickly the ACLU would stumble over themselves to bring lawsuits and to force them to change the title of that mission? Or if they had chosen to call it Allah the King or the Great or the Mighty, or if they had chosen to use any number of names, there would be an outcry from the American populace itself, as well as from different groups who would force and compel them to change the name of this mission. But they're calling it Osiris the King. Now, that's only one layer of this, folks. I have to continue. Keep in mind that in their media advisory, they referred to this as a new planetary science mission. And they described it as ushering in a new era in planetary exploration. And yet they are saying that this object that they are sending the probe to conduct the research is an asteroid. Now, let me give you a counterexample. If we work from Air and Space, an article entitled NASA Readies for July Encounter with Massive Asteroid Vesta. This was published June 26, 2011, just a couple of weeks back. They have no trouble whatsoever in identifying this object that they're traveling to as an asteroid. And throughout the course of this article, time prevents me from giving you the thorough exposition of this. They have no trouble in referring to it repeatedly and consistently and exclusively as an asteroid. And yet when we turn our attention back to Osiris the King, in their media advisory, they describe this as ushering in a new era in planetary exploration, as well as in their own article itself, a new era in planetary exploration. And they're calling it Osiris the King. Why is this important? Well, we talked to some extent last week about the presence of rogue planets, free-floating rogue planets that have dramatically redefined our sense of how planets are formed, how they can continue to exist in the absence. When we say rogue and free-floating planets, we mean to say that they are not orbiting a star in the sense that we orbit our sun. These planets are free-floating through the deep recesses of space, and they are completely invited to make their way through any solar system at any given time. And folks, I have more that I'd like to say about Osiris the King and that mission and how it disgusts me, but we must turn our attention now to Comet Elenin and Elenin's friends. Many of you are aware of Comet Elenin, and you can find tremendous amounts of resources on the internet that describe Elenin in particular. What you may not be as aware of, however, are its friends, these other objects that are in our earthly neighborhood right now that could pose problems. And at this point, I have to turn into a mode, since we're running out of time in the show, to present signposts to you to do your own research. First, you should look up the asteroid that they call Apophis, A-P-O-P-H-I-S, the asteroid Apophis. And I need to make you aware of the fact that on August 3rd, that's less than 1 month away, Apophis in its orbit is extremely, extremely near to what they call the Comet Elenin. They are right in each other's backyard. And if Elenin is anywhere near the size that they describe that object to be, I think it is a very safe conclusion to say that there will be some sort of gravitational attraction, and or that one object or the other or both might find their trajectories altered as a result of that gravitational relationship between the two objects. The asteroid, again, is called Apophis. What is significant about Apophis itself? Well, if you do a little research and look up the definition or the description, how was Apophis itself named? It is the destroyer. It also bears its name dating back to ancient Egyptian history, dating back to Set and the conflict with Amun-Ra. But I don't have time, folks, I apologize, to get into that detail, because I also want to talk about the asteroid that they call 2005 YU-55. Now, folks, you're able to do much of your own research on NASA's own website. If you go to the NASA JPL stands for Jet Propulsion Laboratories, and they have I believe it's a flash-based tool, web-based tool, which allows you to enter the names of any of these objects. Elenin is one example. And you can see and work with the tool itself, where you can twist and turn our solar system, and you can see the orbital trajectories of these objects. What's important for you to know about Elenin is that